All kids deserve to have an education that's about their own development as a human being. That's the first fundamental. The purpose of education is for me to become me, in the context of society, in the community in which I live. So the second purpose of education is so I can truly contribute to my society. So that's why it's very appropriate to always be asking the questions, what are the fundamental challenges of your society? Today, it's a global society. So the purpose of education is to prepare kids to truly be global citizens, but to do it in a way that really is nurturing the uniqueness of them. I really believe schools are about producing leaders. That doesn't mean bosses. That means people who can genuinely make a profound, transformative contribution to their society as a part of how they live their lives. On a small scale, large scale, doesn't really matter. Scale's just scale. The first principle of the radical change we need in how we teach our kids is we've got to wake up and smell the coffee. We've got to be real. I mean, I think the fact that kids, on the one hand, today, know more about the conditions of the world than ever before in human history. And simultaneously, their education hasn't really changed much in 100 years. So I think we've got to recognize that these are kids growing up in the world. They are deeply concerned about water, energy, food, waste, poverty, because they see these conditions. Now, if they don't see anything that they can do, they'll kind of disengage. Like anybody, you don't just keep talking about this stuff. If you can't directly be involved, if it isn't something that I can contribute to, you tend to distance yourself emotionally. It's a very natural response. I've had a lot of conversations with kids. Their real issue is they're profoundly cynical about the adult generation. Are the adults prepared to do anything? If you look at most of their images of leadership and you hold up against the conditions of the world, it's like Kafkaesque, and there's no connection whatsoever. You got people, running around arguing about, who won the last this or that, which is what our politics is all about today. And you got these enormous challenges to change how we live on the planet. That disconnect needs to dissolve. Schools need to be about the world kids are going to live in. I think when we do that, we can also start to redress a lot of the fundamental design problems that schools have always had. Like by the time you're 13 or 14 years old, keeping you locked up in a classroom as when you were 5 or 6, you're a different human being. In all of human history, you were an adult. You had gone through a rite of passage. You're now 15 yeyears old or 14 years old. The kids need to be involved in their community. They need to be active. They need to be discovering their sense of purpose, their ability to contribute. The high school of the future, I don't think is a building. I think it's a launching pad for engaging kids in doing things that really matter, and the curriculum is built around that. It's not that you throw away the curriculum. You can still have, what do you got to understand about science to help your community reduce its carbon footprint? What do you got to understand about the history of your community in order to do that in a way that people will say, oh, that's who we are? Well, I think practically speaking, that's the big strategic question. How can public education, schools in public education, not private or not even charter schools, be as innovative as the best businesses are innovative? In the world of business, people kind of know. I don't think this was as clear 20 or 30 years ago. It's very clear today. Innovate or die. You're either continually discovering new sources of value and making those real, or you're gone after a while. An area that's really kind of a blind spot is we actually don't have any goals for education. If you ask business, we want to innovate. Well, sure, we want to innovate to make more money or market, but I guarantee you, the good ones, they have an idea of innovate for what? You think Apple does the amazing things it does just because they want to make money? Well, of course, they're a business. They got to make money. They want to make money, but that's not the source of innovation. That's not the source of Nike's innovation. There's a core set of ideas. We're going to change the world through this. One of the school districts in this network, which is in the Seattle area, over the last few years undertook a very interesting process. Parents, students, teachers, local business people, other community leaders. What are the aims for our school system? It's called the Tahoma Schools. You can Google that, T-A-H-O-M-A. And you'll see at their website is organized around 6 aims. Everything on their website, you keep seeing the aims come up. Complex thinkers, community contributors, effective communicators, quality producers. And so they're very clear what they're doing. Yeah, they've got test scores. Yeah, they've got to deal with all the stuff every school system's got to do. It's a public school system. But they know, they're very clear, that those test scores, all the stuff that people expect them to be accountable for, is in service of higher aims. I believe the knowledge that we need, the know-how, the practical know-how that we need to transform schools exists. I believe it's spread around in different places. I believe the know-how to do it at a scale that will matter. So it's not just a classroom, it's not just a school, it's not even just a district. It's potentially our system of public education. I believe now is the time that we can move realistically to that kind of scale.